It's Eromanga-sensei Weekly! But it's the OVA and not weekly at all. There's 2 episodes. You asked for us to cover them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hesitant, mostly because I knew it would be difficult to sit through 2 episodes of Eromanga-sensei.
Yes, which proved somewhat true, which we will discuss in great detail.
Yeah, I mean, I was right, but we, if it was just us doing it over the internet, randomly, because, we didn't catch them right when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
People started pestering me about doing them. And OVAs are weird because, most people don't track OVA release dates, so they don't tend to get a lot of hype surrounding them except for in the fan base of the show. I don't know if people, following me are still into Eromanga-sensei.
This show, Eromanga-sensei, was a big meme show, and the thing about memes is that they elapse. They sunset, and this meme has definitely elapsed. Even though, I mean,
nobody's talking about Sagiri anymore at all.
For fans of the show, this would definitely be of comparable quality to the things they may have enjoyed about it previously. No doubt.
I want you to consider that this happened in 2 years. This is only a 2-year-old show. We covered this in 2017. It was the hot show of that season.
Correct.
We went to Anime Expo during the period when we were doing this podcast, towards the back end of it.
Right.
And maybe it was already over. I'm not sure.
I think we filmed an episode while we were there, as I recall.
We did one at your house, which was a month beforehand.
Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay.
But Anime Expo, there was shitloads of art of Sagiri all over the dealer's hall. Everybody, not the dealer's hall, the artist alley. Everybody had a Sagiri on their booth because she was one of those characters that was popular in the Western anime fandom. She was also popular in the Japanese fandom. I'm pretty sure the show did fairly well. That's why it has 2 high effort OVAs, which are not a thing that happens that often anymore. Unless a show is a big deal. It's coming after Oreimo, which was a huge success for its time. You famously hate, you've never really made a big deal out of your hatred.
I'm biding my time about Oreimo, but one day the time will come to voice all concerns.
But you do really hate Oreimo.
I do,
and,
yes.
I have more, I don't think it's terrible all the way, but I did rewatch it recently. And while I thought the first 3 episodes are actually pretty solid as a show, if that was all the story was, immediately after that it's vapid and completely devoid of any further reason to continue watching. So Eromanga-sensei is much worse. It's well, devoid of
in some
any
ways,
character, devoid of any message, devoid of any intellectual content whatsoever.
Yeah.
The only thing that the show had going for it was that there was a particular animator working on the show who was putting a lot of effort into high detail fetishistic shots of Sagiri from unique angles.
And the other characters, but mostly Sagiri. Yeah.
You get really good shots of Sagiri's whole body all throughout the show. And if you're somebody who just really likes this character design for whatever
which many
reason,
do. Many do.
And I'll say personally, people consider me to be a lolicon man. I'm not really the biggest lolicon compared to people who all they like is lollies.
Tell it to the judge.
But I thought Kirin was hot in Oreimo, and she was you have to understand, at the time, the best-selling doujins were all of Kirin and Kuroneko for a year after Oreimo. They would put out the rankings of the best-selling ones at local stores like Tora no Ana or whatever in Tokyo, and it would be the whole top 10 was all Kirin. And so when I look at this show, all I see is we have to have a new hyper marketable character that we can sexualize so that doujins will be made of her.
No doubt.
And they successfully pulled that off with Sagiri. But I just don't think she's nearly as hot as Kirin. I think she's also a memorable character design, maybe an even more memorable design, and they give her some really cute outfits, and she has a good hair color. People like to draw her. So people do a lot of fan art of this character because she's cute and fun to draw, but she's not that sexy. But they sexualize her anyway just because they want you to draw doujins of her. And I think for a lot of otaku, the distinction between cute and sexy is increasingly blurred.
Yes, true.
And to me, it's like I find her more cute, but just not attractive enough to be like, I'm gonna go read doujins of Sagiri.
She's extremely cute. I mean, at times, the character design and some things that she and the other characters can do. The sexiness is a whole other
bag of worms. She has no ass, no tits.
Correct.
She's super tiny and skinny.
She likes to say vulgar things, which the show famously would have cute girls saying extremely vulgar things, and doing things like that.
There are much cuter girls who are no more, like, morally right to find attractive at all than Sagiri.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, okay, so Sagiri's, like, I don't know, 12 or 13, I think.
At most. I can't remember.
She's like a middle schooler. I'm not entirely sure.
I think so.
She's quite young. The main character's in high school. Mm-hmm. Their parents are dead. She is like...
And how?
Their parents are dead. He's taking care of her entirely. She is, like, not his real sister in the first place. She's just an adopted sister.
Checkbox
who
checked.
He's barely really even grown up with because she became a hikikomori, and he's, like... You know, like rediscovering her.
They like met when they were little
artist.
Baby kids. Then they had years apart. She was a hiki, and then they kind of reunite in the show.
Their whole relationship is weird as fuck. But essentially, it's just a younger girl who likes him, who lives in his house. Like, they might as well not be related. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're completely treated as, like, you know, incest brother and sister by the show.
Yep.
So, like, it's supposed to be a taboo couple, but it's not really that much more taboo than, like, Sagiri's friend who comes to the house and talks about how she wants to take cock. Like,
that's true.
You know?
Technically, I guess people have an aversion to, like, they were raised together. It's weird if they fuck, which, I mean, is true.
Yeah.
And, like, the fact they live together... Gonna complicate the old relationship if you start fucking.
They are legally brother and sister, so it's still not a good idea.
They're stepbrother and sister, I think, legally speaking.
I think they could do something about it, you know? Like, they have no blood relation.
I've seen enough porn of, like, hey, step bro, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the taboo's blown wide open on that, I'd say.
Right.
Now the whole being 12 thing, I mean, that's another step, but, you know.
But it's no weirder than her other friends. Who
are the same age.
Over to act sexual towards the main character.
That's true.
And then there's girls who are closer to his own age who are also interested in him.
Yeah.
Who are often more sexually attractive.
More like, Amasa or whatever.
I mean, I'd even say Elf. Like, I'm not that into her, but I think that she's more, like, attractive. Like, as a, like, kind of a lolly-ish character.
There's an element too.
She at least has a nice ass that they can
I guess
you.
For a lot, whatever. But there's like an element of at least like Sagiri is truly a pathetic slug of a human being. Like she has no worth. She's got very little agency. So like you could feel maybe some kind of like predatory. We talked about in our show. It almost feels like he intentionally infantilized her to keep her like in his room so he could like feel control over her in a way. Which I mean could be true. That was just a theory we had, maybe. Whereas with Elf is a very strong, like outgoing, like she's running her shit. There's way less vibes of like manipulation or control if like he were to hook up with Elf instead.
Right, because Elf, despite being probably herself like 16, I'm not sure, I don't remember.
I don't know, 14.
They all seem very young.
Yeah.
She owns her own house, the same size as theirs, next door to them. Like, you know, we're talking about a family home that their parents owned after, you know, like, that they were raising kids in. Versus this is, like, a girl in high school who owns her own, like, 2-story house.
Which she bought through her own independent career of being an incredibly successful light novel author.
And for no reason other than that she has the money and wants to have a big house where she can walk around naked.
Yeah, yeah.
So her thing is that she just walks around naked.
That's one of her things, yeah.
So, like... I mean, where do we even start with the scale of, like, how to judge this all morally? The degeneracy on all frontiers is, like, it's the forefront of the text. It is what the show is about, is getting these scenarios to happen.
There's this pretense in the show of, like, we're here to, like, celebrate the wonders of light novels and light novel authors, but that's an incredible backseat, especially now, to, like, the characters being in sexy poses, being naked, wearing elaborate panties and whatnot, and exposing it to the main character in various times. So that's obvious. That's the real show. That's the real show.
I mean, this is something I was just thinking about before we started recording, that Sagiri is a non-character. Like, there is nothing to her. She she has like I guess some trauma from what happened, the fact that she lost her mom,
died or whatever,
who taught her how to be a manga artist. She likes this guy who's like her brother, whatever. And she's like locked in her room and she's social anxiety, right?
That's her character, basic and main trait, right. Social anxiety. But like
nothing ever changes about her character. She's boring and paper thin, and the only thing.
It's free real estate.
The only reason that anybody would care about this character at all is because of the way that she's drawn.
Yep.
That she looks good, that they put some effort into animating her, and so she's cute. And, like, I really have to just think that the character being portrayed in the animation has nothing to do with the character being written. Like, it's the people who have animated the show are telling you a story about how they can animate this cute girl in all these different scenarios. And that's the story that has intrigued you. The other, like, the characterization of the character is like a justification almost.
Yeah, exactly.
For how we can enjoy this animation of this cute character design.
It's this concept I've yet to put a name to, but I've been bringing up, that's like when you get an anime and you make it the anime about the one thing. What's the one thing? This one is light novels, is the one thing, and then they just fill in the blanks. You just throw in some characters, you give them character designs. The one thing is light novels, but the substance is put her in sexy locations or outfits or whatever, and have them do shit.
It's so
it's
bizarre.
like it's some sort of like, I'm trying to think, it's like the measure of intellectual content, to like use that frame or something. There's a scale, I don't know, I'm working on it.
Okay, so I guess we've sort of summarized our thoughts, what
so you don't have to watch all 12 episodes of the first.
What we came away from Eromanga-sensei with. Eromanga-sensei Weekly was a podcast we did through 2017, if this wasn't clear. We did 12 episodes. It was very popular. People asked us to do the OVAs as well.
So here we are.
That was basically a summary of how we felt about the show. And the OVAs, we still feel the same way.
Yes. Brings all the feelings right back.
But they are interesting because they are definitely much higher quality. Like, the animation is very consistent throughout. Particularly the second OVA has really consistently great visuals all throughout. I
don't know how it works in a business sense, but it's a shame because like production values really do get stepped up seemingly for OVAs. But a lot of people just stop.
They just have all the time in the world to make it. Like,
that's true.
Publish it when it's done, but I mean within a certain time frame, I would think. But like they don't have to rush to meet TV deadlines.
Yeah.
So like, and if they make it something special, more people are gonna buy it.
Which we saw some of here.
Especially when all the gifts come out from all this shit.
Right.
But like. The second OVA, while it looked very nice, was like it was probably better than any episode of the show, while still being almost exactly as bad as any episode of the show.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what scale, how you want to like break it up, because like the two major categories are just production and then like writing and narrative. And you can totally break those into two components. If you're someone who like is super attracted to Sagiri, this is like a 10 out of 10 for you. Like you're gonna love this. You will be way into this.
And like that's a lot of people. Like I feel like this OVA, if you like the show at all, there's no reason you won't enjoy this OVA. Both episodes, especially if you like Elf. The first episode has some like legitimate merit to it on some level as an Elf episode, even though it makes no sense at all. We should get into it.
Let's do that.
The first episode.
All right.
Elf, what is your thoughts on the Elf
episode? First episode, all right, so like, we just, as a refresher, of course, in Eromanga, you've got the harem. The main character, Masamune, develops the harem of girls. Sagiri's gonna win. We all knew this from the start. Any pretense he's gonna end up with any other girl is a huge waste of time, and yet here we are indulging this in this Elf episode, which is what this is. It's like it's almost like you called it like the what-if scenario, like the ending where Elf won, if this was like a visual novel. And so it's Elf is having a party to celebrate that like her Blazing Elf novel has done amazingly well. So the publisher of their magazine or their books or whatever is having a party where all the authors are invited, so all our characters are there. That's why they're there. And you get the scene where Elf is you know, she's running around saying hey to everybody. She asks Masamune to help her change. We see the ass cheek crack. We see the elaborate panties. Yeah, it's a shenanigans. She's naked, wanna fuck, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, there's this incredible musical number. I mean, this is where all the production value went. Yeah. And I find myself... So it's just that everything up to this point, before we get to that, is just, we can't forget that we've, like, I watched the show. Sagiri won. Why are we wasting our time indulging the fact that Elf is gonna get, like, another shot, and, like, this is her narrative. I won't give up. I'm gonna keep fighting, and I just can't help but think this, narratively, is just a complete waste of time, and I'm so frustrated that we're continuing to indulge this fantasy that the character is hopelessly pursuing, and her mother, who's, like, the main other character in the show, shows up and is like, hey, you're wasting your fucking life, you dumb cunt. Why are you pursuing a guy who just told me to my face that he's not into you and he loves another woman? Why are you wasting your life? She's 100% right. And Elf's like, oh, this is fucking bullshit, Mom. You need to let me do this shit. I mean, this is the attitude.
The whole song about it.
And the song...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the song is legitimately entertaining, and I love the production, the fact that, like, the bodyguards get involved. This thing is not stable right now. Okay, wait, it's gotta go this way a little bit.
Yeah, I'll fix it.
Okay.
Keep talking.
The point is that the song, among other things, is incredibly specific to the situation that in no way could have been predicted, right? This is a diegetic song that Elf performs on stage at the celebration of her achievements as a light novel author.
That's way too fun to say.
And yet, the exact lyrics of the song are, Mom, it's really fucked up that you're not supporting me. Mom, it's really fucked up that you won't tell me I should pursue a guy who's in another relationship. But I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna live my dream and fuck this guy. Like, these are the lines. The lines of the song are exactly about what is happening in the narrative that she could not have known. She could not have prepared the song, but this is a diegetic fucking song happening in the show. Everyone is clapping and singing along, and there's people playing musicians. It's not non-diegetic like some cutaway shit. So narratively, this makes zero sense. It does not make sense how we could get here. But on a production value side, I loved the song. I loved the number. And Elf, like, we were like, oh, Elf's got like a weird coat on throughout this number. Why is she doing it? And then she pulls it off and is wearing a fucking wedding dress because this is a song of love for Masamune. And it was like, oh my God, if I respected the writing, if I respected the events or characters happening right now, I would be so with her. And on the one sense of Elf triumphing over Sagiri and like winning Masamune from a life of like semi-incest, semi-degenerate lifestyle, like captive woman thing. I'm way with Elf in that I hope she succeeds. She puts way more effort. She is like a self-reliant human. Sagiri is a human slug who adds almost nothing to the world, who I hope eats shit and dies as soon as possible. And we can get into that with the next episode. So I'm with Elf, but I can't ignore the fact that like every underpinning of this situation is totally fucked up, is totally retarded, and none of the things they're doing I would ever encourage anyone I know in real life to actually be engaging in, because he has said he's with some other bitch now, he's with another girl, and like the narrative wants us to be like, you go, Elf. You go waste your life pursuing a man who's already taken. We're so with you in this. Yeah. And so like I guess you could say charitably, it's conflicted. It's not a clean story being told here.
Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
What score do you give this episode out of 10 before we even continue the discussion?
Because the production is honestly really high. I legitimately was enjoying, if you put aside this core underpinning, which to me is like a huge important part. Yeah. So on the one hand, it was like an 8 or 9 production for a show like this. I don't know, like maybe it's like an 8 or something. But on like the writing and the underpinnings, it's like a 2 or a 3 for sheer like frustration in my brain, and I hate what's happening. So like I guess I averaged to like a 5 or something like that. That's I guess where I'm at.
Give this OVA a 5.
The first episode. The first episode gets a 5. Yeah. And you, sir?
Okay. So I'm gonna get into the details because this episode, like, there's a lot going on because of the fact that they've invited everybody to this party. So we have this whole scene of Sagiri getting like dressed up.
Oh, I forgot about this shit. Yeah. At the very beginning.
But Sagiri gets dressed up for this party, right? And the whole scene is she's putting on like a really nice, like glamorous outfit, like something like she's going somewhere fancy. She's gonna look really good. It's a great design. The idea of her in this outfit. And
remember how much plot she progressed? Remember how much she grew as a character in the show, guys? This is a lie. This is not true what happened. Yeah.
Like, no, imagine. Yeah, this is like the first we're seeing in this. So, like, if she had gone to this party...
That would have been great. I would have been like, fuck yes, narrative progression. She's healing as a human being.
But, like, so... And you called it, I think. Like, because... You saw her in the outfit, and you immediately said something
I said she's not going. I said she's not going. She's not leaving her room. That's not going to happen.
And so... They have this whole, like, romantic scene where, like, they see each other in the fancy outfits. Smash cut to, he's at the party holding a laptop open.
As he does.
There's a webcam that sees whatever he's seeing, and she's pictured on Skype. But it's not even that she's not even using a video. She's not showing herself in the dress.
It's an avatar of her, like, her mask and stuff.
Immediately, it's like, okay, so she put on the whole dress. With no intention of showing it to anybody except for him.
But yeah.
So the only real...
And maybe herself, to feel some happiness, some pride.
Maybe, Maybe she just wanted to feel like she fit in, even though she's not even showing the fact that she's wearing it. But the fact that she has this romantic scene with him and she seems to be so happy to be showing him that she's wearing this outfit.
Yeah.
Because they look good together. And she likes him and wants to fuck him. But, like, that's the only reason she put on this outfit.
And don't forget, like you said before, but while you might have thought that, like, she'd be on the webcam showing off the dress in some way, she's in fact, so even at home, she's still wearing the mask that she wears.
That's where it gets really weird.
Yeah, okay, go on.
So, yeah, like, she's wearing the dress at home, but we only see that it's her as a Skype image, not even a live webcam. Then it cuts to her, and we see that she is wearing the mask. Why would she ever need to be wearing the mask?
She's not on video. So why wear the mask? Why does she wear the mask?
Does the mask have like a voice morpher?
No. We can hear her voice clearly. Clearly.
Well, I don't know what the fuck was up with that. It's just like...
She didn't need to wear it. I guess she felt in character or something.
It was just so dumb on so many levels. And I was like, if I take this at face value, maybe this is meant to be humorous... But it's so stupid.
I hadn't thought of that.
It's so dumb. Like, I think it might possibly be that you're supposed to think it's funny. But it's not funny. It's just
It's not a great joke, if so, because I didn't get it.
Because every step of the way you're just going, what? Oh. Oh, no.
I mean, maybe, like, we kind of gave her too much credit. Like, we should have learned. You and I, among all people, should have known. There's no chance she's, like, leaving her house, which I did predict. So, like, we should, when you see her in her dress, you're gonna be like, oh, she's gonna hang out in her room. There's no hope for her going to a party.
I mean, when it came to the Elf Yamada stuff, I mean, like, there was a moment halfway through the episode, right after, like, I think when she had, like, had a fight with her mom or whatever, when I just went, like, I don't care.
Yes,
like,
you did.
Like,
yes, you did.
It was just, like, going into all this drama, all this personal history with her, and I'm just like, this is Elf from Eromanga-sensei. I don't give a fuck at all about her home life, her family. I really don't. This character is a nothing character.
It's funny how much they expect us.
Service character.
It's funny how much they expect us to care about, like, her mom and her backstory. When,
I mean, they introduced elements of this in the show, and I think we even complimented episode, like, 9, the one that was, like, about her family, as being, like, one of the better episodes.
Yeah, I think so.
In the sense that Elf was, like, kind of a breath of fresh air in comparison to... But this is, like,
the best
we're talking about the distinction between a 2 out of 10 girl and a 1 out of 10 girl here. Like, we're talking about fucking the bottom of the barrel. Eromanga-sensei is a garbage show, and there's no reason to watch it. Elf is not a good enough reason to watch.
Unless you want to jack off to it, and it just does it for you. That's fine.
Read the fucking doujins, like.
I guess that's true.
Just look at the pictures of the spreads. You know, there's a few good spreads in episode 9. Just find those on Gelboru. You're fine. Like, you don't need to watch this fucking show.
You will be punished.
It is a huge waste of fucking time. But, like, yeah, the elf arc in this episode, like, it goes from I don't care to this makes no sense at all. Because, like, again, with the whole musical number, like you explained, I was just sitting there going, like, how could she have written this? Like, there's no way. This situation just happened
completely
today.
Nonsensical. 100%.
I thought what might be, and this is maybe what somebody in the comments might say, is that she had planned the melodies of these songs.
She improv? Because before she sings, lyrics. We see her crinkle up her speech. Did she improv the lyrics off the top of her fucking head?
I think what they're trying... The only way I can justify this, that it makes any kind of sense at all,
no.
is if the idea is that she originally had prepared a speech and a song, and it was going to be this huge elaborate song that ends with her in a wedding dress. But she, at the last minute, just improvised an entirely new speech and whole new lyrics to the song to the melody of the song.
That's equally nonsensical.
But she is like a genius. Like, she's supposed to be like a genius writer.
I guess so.
Like, she can brain to page
write
like a light novel in like a day.
I think most people would say.
Didn't she write the light novel in a day? Isn't that why I did it? Was it her or him?
I think it was him.
But she
might
also
have too.
she also does it at the same time.
She's like equally good or something. Yeah.
She writes an insanely fast one. Look, I wrote a light novel in a day 2 years ago when we did this thing. And then just recently I wrote another light novel in a day. You can listen to me do an audiobook of it on this channel. There's a link in the description, and there will be one at the end of the video.
So there you go.
It's advertisement.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, but yeah, the elf character is really stupid. She always has been. I cannot take her seriously.
In her ways. Yeah.
I cannot take her seriously. I cannot take this song seriously. The animation had a bunch of really great cuts and lots of like good staging, good choreography.
When the like what appeared to be like the bodyguards like joined into the number,
we were all like,
dancers.
They just start dancing and singing in the background, and it was fucking hilarious. And I was like, that was when I finally was like, I mean, I cannot pretend I didn't have fun here.
Exactly.
But this is a 4 out of 10 for the episode 1.
It's like Whiplash. I fucking am so frustrated with much of the episode, and then my senses are delighted by other aspects of the very same episode of a show. So I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Stand by like my 5. But
is there anything more to say about episode 1? Should we move on to episode 2?
Let's go to episode 2.
I have to sneeze and I have to. Okay, so episode 2 of this OVA. This is the one where.
This is the Sagiri episode.
It's the Sagiri episode, and we were speculating, like, will there be a Muramasa episode?
Mm-hmm. Will it be Orange Bitch, maybe?
Orange
Unlikely.
Bitch, yeah. Like, there's a lot of girls in this show, and, like, they're all fine. Like, I think this show really lives on the fact that the character designs are good overall.
100%, yeah.
Like, I cannot knock the character designs on a baseline. They don't always look good, but they do sometimes look very good. And, like, you know, all the girls are fairly hot, but they all are just so vapid that you really can't even pick, like, a favorite, because you're just kind of like, I mean, they're all stupid and bad, but like
Elf is the standout among the ones. I think.
As of that episode,
even before that, I think I would have said. I'm reaching back in my mind to when I watched the show. I remember thinking Elf was the best girl. She had like the one best episode.
I liked Muramasa because I thought she was the hottest one.
I like her too because she's earnest and hardworking, and I don't know, can try hard, but whatever.
There was the twist that she was in
love with him or a fan of his.
Yeah, I think it was that. He is a huge fan of her currently, but she had actually gotten her first inspiration from reading his like earliest work posted online or something like that. And that's why she's in love with them.
That's nice. It's
interesting.
Fine.
It's a good twist.
It's of course obviously corny, as all these things obviously are, but you know.
And then you have the orange-haired girl who's just like Sagiri's classmate who likes to make edgy jokes.
That's all there is to it.
Get into sexual situations.
She needs everyone to like her. And so that's why she needs to fuck you, audience.
Yeah, I described her...
The Dojins write themselves.
I described her, as we were watching episode 2, as a woman who is trying to get raped.
True.
Because
you did do that.
Her attitude...
You call her a fake bitch, right? She's a fake bitch.
Well, no, surely you've heard of the fact that there are women who do, like, kind of want a guy to just, like...
It's out there, yeah.
Not say, like, not ask permission, basically. And everybody hates the fact that these women exist because they're like, what are you doing?
They really fuck with the narrative, bro.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
Like, why would I do that? Like, considering the climate of the world, like, why would I just assume that you wanted me to fuck you, you know?
It's a tough call. It's tough to commit to that.
Orange-haired girl is somebody who is constantly signaling... She is always trying to push the boundaries of, like, how sexual she can act. You know, so that, like, you know, like, will you progress this? Like, it's like she's putting out threads and asking you to pull, basically.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you keep pulling, what happens at the end of this? Do you just fuck her? Like, where does it go?
I don't know. I mean, she's just someone. I mean, you see this every day. She's a young person, like, exploring her sexuality. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. Like, if you wanted to fuck a guy, there are many easier ways than going up and being like, "Put it in my fucking pussy, bro." Like, the art of seduction is a subtle thing, you know, especially from the feminine side. It's out there. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing, so obviously, you know, she's like 14. So there you go. Not
also,
surprised.
this show is just hella autistic.
Oh yeah, plus it's this show, so that's true.
I mean, like, I would not believe that the author of this series has ever been in a relationship at all.
It does, yeah.
I would
I'd be surprised.
struggle to think that he had like any like real interactions with anybody on like a deep enough level to like understand people beyond like tropes, you know?
If they have, it is not informing the writing of the show whatsoever.
No,
like this is just going outside all real world relationships and way people interact and shit. So yeah.
Well,
anyway, episode 2.
Yeah,
Sagiri.
episode 2 is the Sagiri episode for the most part. Those other characters do show up in this episode. They basically get brushed aside. And I mean, okay, this is why I say that this is almost weirdly the best episode of the show, in that it tries to do what the show was supposed to do. Yeah. But it does it on such a light level that it's ultimately infuriating.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Because the idea of this episode is essentially that the main character gets... Masamune, he gets sick, and Sagiri has to take care of him.
Classic premise.
And the whole episode is her finding herself in scenarios where either she is having to do things that he would normally do, or she's having to, like, block other people from getting to him because they want his dick, or she's trying to call people to help her do things, but they're sick or they're out of commission. So it's like at every single turn, she either is being stopped from having help, or she herself is blocking somebody from helping.
Yes, but in either case, she's being forced to be the mover of the events, to do things, to take initiative.
So she actually has to, you know, propel the episode
I can't believe she had, like, none of this in the actual show, by the way. This boggles my mind that you're right. Yeah. This is the most progression she, like, ever gets. And it's shocking.
She makes it to a point where she really comes to understand how much work he does for her.
She's starting to get
every single day.
Yeah.
And, like, this is the biggest complaint that you have always had about both her and Kirin, is that they are lazy and it's the Umaru-chan problem.
Umaru-chan, exactly,
of just, like, this girl is a brat and she just gets away with everything and there's no reason to like her.
And it's not that only that she is responsible for that, it's the fact that others indulge that behavior.
They
are so and again, this might be because he's trying to control her, he's making her he's infantilizing her through putting up with this shit. I mean, to me, I think if anyone acted this way to me, I would drop them out of my life instantaneously or begin the motions to do so.
There is a scene in this episode that actually takes this and does something kind of funny with it, but it's also infuriating at the same time, but in a more comical way, which is when she opens the fridge and realizes that it is very well stocked with nothing but fresh ingredients.
It's beautiful.
For food, right? It's like the most beautiful fridge you could imagine. And she goes, what the fuck? He doesn't keep any instant food? He's not prepared for an emergency. What an idiot. And like slams the door closed. It's like,
that's interesting writing, actually.
So you get this moment where it is explicit in the narrative that he makes her home-cooked meals 3 times a day with his own ingredients. He's not fucking making her TV dinners.
Yep.
He is making home-cooked meals for this girl. That takes like an hour, you know, to make a home-cooked meal for lunch or dinner and to bring it to her door. And to do that on top of cleaning the entire fucking house.
Like earning the income to support both of them. Yeah.
Doing literally everything for this girl who just sits in her room and draws art, you know, and live streams, and like that's it.
She's a real Ben Saint, and I would have none of that shit in my life.
And she really like doesn't appreciate what he's doing for her at all, and treats him like shit, you know. But in this one episode, now that she's finally had to walk a mile in his shoes, she respects him enough that when he returns to doing everything for her immediately and she returns to bossing him around, she at least has the decency to say thank you.
Oh, fuck that character development, baby! Oh, yes!
14 episodes. And
14.
we finally made it to where she can thank him for doing the things that he does, which is step 1 of this character development cycle.
Why didn't that happen episode 1 of the show?
You only get 1 per season.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
You have to keep this
you gotta keep it going.
Rolling.
You're right. You're absolutely right. There's only so many you can do.
This is how they fucked up in Emo, all right? By the end of season 2, he's already fucking his sister.
Right.
Where do you go from there? There's
marriage. That's the end, or you undercut the whole thing.
It ended. Emo ended after like what 9 volumes. Like that's not a light novel. You know, you gotta have like 30 volumes. You know, we're talking index numbers. We want to be running for a decade. We want to have only at the end of a what could be consolidated into a 14 episode anime arc can there be an ounce of
any progression whatsoever. Remember how like at the end of the first 12 episodes, the thing like the big moment we're like, oh my god, she's gonna go outside. I think what she did was she like opened the front door, and I don't even remember if she stepped outside or not. But now we can clearly see we've regressed. We have regressed, and now we're back to this point. I don't care about her going outside. I much am more invested in this idea of like coming to appreciate what her brother does for her. And you know what? To an extent, because, you know, like I say this, he's kind of responsible to a degree for this. I don't even really think... this might surprise people to hear from me, but like I don't even really blame her for taking him so for granted, because like he has been tacitly implying this is how life is. You do the little work you want to, you draw, I do everything else. This is how it works. So like why would you expect her to thank him for just doing how things are just supposed to be? But in this one moment where, you know, fish out of water store, where she's forced to understand the responsibility that he has every day to take care of her, it's a good thing to see. It's unironically the way I feel the story should have gone from the start. That little bit.
And so when we consider that this episode has the only character movement in the entire show at all, it's interestingly constructed in that the whole thing is just stuff blocking her from getting help, essentially, or her blocking help, which is the weird, frustrating part of the episode.
Well, I was gonna bring that up next. Yeah.
But like, you know, her being blocked from help was interesting for a while, and there's a lot of good animation and artwork. And like, again, both of us were kind of like, I mean, if I wanted to fuck her, I could see why this would be enjoyable, but I don't. And it's like,
that's the conundrum.
There's basically 2 shots that are used over and over again. One of her like kneeling on the side of the bed,
crotch
looking
shot,
like she is, you know, bent over, ready to get plowed from behind.
Yep.
Like, and then there's the crotch shot of her like sitting with her legs to her chest on the stairs, and you see her legs and her crotch, and it is this very even mix of cute and sexual, where it's like these shots don't have to be sexual shots, and she's wearing a very cute outfit, and it's kind of adorable, and it's well drawn.
She's cute, yeah.
But
it's true.
Also, it just so happens the only images we're showing you are ones where where she's bent over or her crotch is visible. You know, like the only shots are those shots. So it's very clear. I mean, like we see her like getting dressed, taking off her clothes, like right at the start of the episode. It's like it's very fan service heavy, but like you can you can still kind of appreciate it, even without thinking of it as fan service, for just how well staged the shots are, how good the outfits look, how nice the animation is at times. There's the whole dance from the ED is made narrative in this.
It is in kind of two ways. There's the first part where she's like, I gotta do something. I'll do the laundry. And you know the best part about that we were both noticing that like diegetically what's happening is it's her doing the dancing in front of the washing machine. We hear the things rumbling, and Loli, we see her iPod is like playing the song quietly, and you hear her quietly being like singing along to the song, and that was a very nice touch. And then she stops and says like, oh, I should go do some other work now around the house.
And of course it plays some of those amazing cuts from the ED, so that looks great, and that's in the episode now, and now you could think of that as like, okay, cool, this has like been contextualized. We literally know that this ED we've been enjoying for years now, because it's like the best part of the show.
It's very good.
Is like actually happened narratively at a specific point in time. Neat.
Although
good fan service.
To be an asshole about it, what is she listening? Where did she get this song? Because this song is the ending to the anime she's in. How is the character listening to it inside the world of the fucking show? No one knows. No one knows. Maybe it's like was made for like one of their light novel adaptations, or if that ever happened to them. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. Something like that.
Why not? So I've been basically praising this episode.
Yeah.
This was the one you really hated, so let's hear about it.
Okay, you're absolutely right that I was glad to hear that. Thank you. But okay, the thing is, you have to compare the one tiny inch forward of the saying thank you quietly, mumbling under her breath, like begrudgingly. But in that same scene, for example, she is demanding, like, why were you so slow getting me my fucking dinner, you fat sack of shit? Go out and fucking earn for me and clean the whole house and get me my dinner faster, you fat fuck. And that's after having gone through her, like, learning experience of doing the chores and cooking for him and all that shit. And throughout the episode, these people, well-wishers come see Masamune, to try to, like, give him medicine, to help him, just to visit, to give him good cheer and conversation, and she won't let them in because of, look, either, on the one hand, it's probably because she's just a jealous cunt, and she doesn't want anyone near her brother because she loves him more than anyone. No one's allowed to talk to him or whatever. But there's also the other side of, like, maybe it's social anxiety. But in that case, that's just her weakness. I don't give a shit.
Okay, first of all, Elf Yamada regularly comes to their house.
She, like, bursts in.
This has been established. And
that's why they couldn't have her in the episode.
The only reason she wasn't there is because she was also sick.
That's right.
So Elf had to also be out of commission. And she's had the orange-haired girl in the house before, too.
Yeah.
They made her, like, pose for her drawings.
Pulled down the panties on her. Yep.
So, obviously, it is just strictly she doesn't want them to come in and flirt with her brother.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is completely unfair because they actually have advantages in that they know how to take care of him. So her denying them...
This bitch orders food for him online. The guy comes to the door. We see him through the door, and she's too chicken shit to open the door and get the food from the fucking delivery man. This is a malfunctioning human fucking being, and I have no respect for her. I don't care that she moved one, like, tiny inch forward. When you compare that to the Umaru-chan lifestyle of this dumb bitch, I'm not gonna, like, be blown away by the amazing progression. If this was, like, episode 1 of the show, and then we continued, I could be like, okay, she was a cunt at the start, but now she's developed, like, an appreciation, and she's, like, growing as a person. But that's not happened yet. We're still, like, waiting for that. We're hoping that that happens in the future, which it could. I know she's, like, 14. I don't, like, it's funny, like, by the show's logic, I'm allowed to, like, want to fuck her, but, like, I'm maybe not allowed to, like, expect her to act like a fucking adult, or, like, to have any human decency, you know, So, I mean, that's, like, the gist of, like, why I'm mad watching these fucking episodes.
So fucking funny.
I just, like, I'm so mad at her for living this way, and I'm mad at him for indulging her, and I'm mad at everyone else for, like, none of these best friends, like, all these close bosom buddies of the characters, none of them are like, y'all's got a toxic-ass relationship going on here. Y'all's are really not good for each other. A good friend would say something like that, and at the very least, notice how they're, like, siphoning fucking life force off each other.
They're all retarded. Like none of them.
And they're all like 14, I guess. So
right, like none of them are paying attention to what anybody else is doing. They're all just like zeroed in. I want to fuck him.
Yeah.
I have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Let me spring on it. Like
that's true.
And it's also not as if those girls would have come to try to help him with his sickness. If not for the fact that they do want to fuck him and they are looking for that
But
opportunity.
the narrative paints
she's
them.
not even wrong to think that.
The narrative paints them as like every anime does, is where it's like, oh, it's true love. Like they want them to like we care about you so much. Like I have to be the one with you because I love you more than anyone else. It's never like a selfish reason. It's always okay. Sometimes it is whatever. Like Elf will admit like I just want this guy fuck everybody else, and I respect that. I respect that more. But like these characters, a lot of them are painted like Muramasa kinda is painted as like having this like, I don't know, benevolent, loving spirit. But when has she ever said anything about like what a terrible lifestyle these two people are fucking living?
Yeah.
And no one in any way ever attempts to just like push Sagiri forward in like any way. The biggest thing they do is they go have fun, and Sagiri gets to sit at home and feel sad that like she wasn't a part of it. And I've got nothing but pity for that. I feel bad for her, and I would be there being like, let's fucking fix this shit. And just for a guy like me, it's so frustrating to watch these characters just indulge just because I feel bad for fucking NEETs like this. This is like endlessly what I talked about when we were reviewing it weekly. It just makes me sad and feel bad for these characters, and then it's like once you're a criminal, like I feel bad that like your life was raised, but then when you go murder someone, like it's at that point I'm like, well, sorry buddy, but like now you've truly been a bad person. And Sagira's like that. She's gone from like potential offender to actual offender, and like at this point it's time to bring down the fucking guillotine because I'm done with it.
I have to wonder, do you think that the reason people are just okay with this show is just because most of the people watching it are NEETs?
I don't think, well, there's degrees of NEETs. I think a lot of people see themselves to a degree in many of these characters.
I'll tell you, back when I was, when I was like a hikikomori NEET as like a high schooler / post, especially when I dropped out of college, I was a straight up NEET.
This ain't no like welcome to the NHK. Like no, that's a relatable show.
But there are a ton of shows with NEET and hikikomori characters that you just instantly connect with the show itself for even presenting like that lifestyle. I guess.
Like,
I think
I don't want to moralize all day about like every NEET should be working every day to improve themselves or something.
I mean,
but
I think it's just like the lifestyle of a lot of like young artistic professionals is probably pretty secluded, and like
both of us can attest to this.
And I'm thinking about like again all those Artist Alley people, and it's like why do they like Sagiri? She is an artist. She literally draws for light novels. She sits in her room and does reference drawings using her own body. And those of her sexy friends, and like
that's all fine.
Draw stuff on the internet. So like I get why some people might potentially connect with Sagiri and be more forgiving of her NEET lifestyle, but it's not really the fact that she's a NEET that is the problem. It's the fact that she's not self-sufficient at all. She's entirely dependent on this dude, and if he were to bail on her, she would be completely fucked. Like she is not she's not capable of living on her own, and she's not appreciative of what he is providing her.
I mean, to a degree, I know that I know she's like 14 and a NEET and all that, but like if he abandoned her, she might have to become self-sufficient, which may be a long-term positive in some ways.
I mean, this episode is like a microcosmic version of that, like a very lighthearted take on what if he's not around.
And look, she kind of had to grow up, kind of had to do some adult things. Imagine that.
Except she failed at a lot of it.
Hey, man, it was only her first day.
Like, did she ever feed him at all?
She did. She made, like, she did the classic anime, I don't cook, I attempted to make you the omo rice, and it was, he said it was alright, I think. So that's cool.
She actually made it right?
She made it right. She had the ketchup face.
Ketchup face.
Yeah.
Alright. Why didn't she just do that if she knew how to make fucking omo rice?
She was like, I mean, she had to like work her way up to attempting to cook, because she was at first like, there's no way I can cook, and then she followed a recipe, fucked up a bunch. Got one eventually.
Okay.
So there's growth.
I was probably zoned out for some of that.
Most likely.
These episodes were like... It took me like 3 minutes in to even realize that he was sick, because I just was like, this dialogue is going... like it's just a flat line, Like
much of it.
You try to pay attention, and then you just are like, oh, I forgot, I don't care. And like, you just get lost in looking at the visuals for a while, being like, well, I guess it looks nice.
You know what was interesting, though?
There's one really cool animation technique, for instance, where when like Muramasa is talking to editor, and
Oh,
they both will like come into the foreground to like swipe the phone away.
That was a
from
very
each other.
nice little cut there. Yeah,
I mean, it's a really unique piece of animation. Haven't seen a lot like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bunch of weird little things that are like, wow, they really like put a lot of time and effort into
production.
This. Why?
Merit.
Why are they doing that? Please stop it. Please apply this to a better source material. Please stop putting so much work into Eromanga-sensei. Please. Stop it.
I would be very curious. I don't want to
watch this shit.
I would love to sit in. Maybe
I wouldn't have watched all that great animation. Never would have seen it if we weren't doing a meme series.
That's true.
I would have dropped the show halfway through the first episode. Please put it in a better show.
I'm fascinated, and I would love to have seen, or to see if it happens regularly or whatever, like the editorial room discussion about like, okay, like this is the story that's been written. Like, do we allow this? Do we publish this? Is this what we want to turn into our anime? And like devote the efforts of our staff into like realizing this, making this look nice. I think we talked about this before, but it's like the conversation isn't like, is this good writing? It's not, is this like something that is worthy of being elevated by like our work in animation? The conversation, I think, starts and stops with like, can we sell this? How can we make a profit? And like, I get the profit motive, but there's gotta be other things that are also just have some degree of good writing behind them that are worth putting the fucking work into animating.
I mean, for fuck's sake, this show is literally even like Oreimo was already a very low level of that.
Yeah,
like, it was a show that was like made fun of, like, you know, it was popular, but people made fun of it and were like, oh yeah, this is, you know, Emoto trash.
Yeah,
but like it could be forgiven on some level because it had some kind of intellectual content.
That's true.
This has none, and so you look at it and you just go like, if this wasn't from the guy who made Oreimo, it would have no name recognition to carry it. If it didn't have these character designs, it would have no branding to carry it.
Yep.
It's purely the idea of this cute younger sister, do you want to fuck her? It's
like in our quest to make an anime that people will watch for whatever reason, we've lost the point that at some time, with some version of the goal of making an anime, there was an idea of, let's tell a good story. Yeah. That was there once upon a time. That is not there for this show, at the very least. No. It feels like at no point did that question even come up. Is this not even, I'm not trying to moralize. This isn't a moral point. It's like, is there something worth talking about here?
All right,
and instead, it's basically just porn. It's basically just porn.
I'm gonna brag a little bit.
Okay.
Here, all right, and you can disagree with me if you want, viewers, commenters, whoever. But last time this show was on, I wrote that light novel, and I thought it was better than most of what happens in Eromanga-sensei, you know? Now, granted, it was spotty. It wasn't like a full... It was like a mishmash of elements. It was like a bunch of short stories. It wasn't like a complete story. This year, I wrote a light novel in a day that, even though the conceit of it, I just wrote all day. I did not stop. It was just like the way it's presented in this show. Just non-stop writing all day. I did 15,000 words. And I could not even help but to put way more characterization and world building and detail and intrigue into my story. Like, I could not... It wasn't even that I was trying to, because I started it as a joke. The project began with somebody saying, like...
I bet you can't write a light novel, bro. I bet you can't do this shit.
It was just somebody suggested, wouldn't it be funny if there was a light novel where the author of an isekai has to go into an isekai and realizes how shitty they are. And I was like, yeah, that sounds hilarious. So I just started writing it, and by the end of the day, I had like created all these characters and made all these plot twists in the story, and it was compelling, and I was like, wow, this is actually like a decent story. I wrote it in like a day. And then I look at Eromanga-sensei and I think, he didn't write this. I mean, maybe he could write in a day like the characters do, but like if he did not turn out anything interesting whatsoever. There is nothing to this. It feels like it was written in a day.
This feels like our world's version of the Half in the Bag on Jack and Jill. That like by analyzing this to a degree and by looking into the thought process and comparing it to other works historically and contemporarily, we're learning that the world is not as good as we thought it was. That there are dimensions that we instinctively think, oh, people must look at the world in this way. People must be trying to tell a story worth telling.
I mean, look,
but it's revealed that no, not at all.
Eromanga-sensei, A1 Pictures. A1 Pictures is I've criticized them heavily, continually. It's a studio of just producers who just take on, groups of people to make shows. They don't have like a studio culture really, the way that other studios do. They bring in all these different directors, all these different animators to realize whatever has been given to them to make into a show. They are a subsidiary of Aniplex. Aniplex is a huge production studio, and they produce all kinds of shit all over the place, but A1 Pictures is where it's like, all right, this is a project Aniplex wants to push. So we're giving it to our studio, A1, and they're going to make this shit, and they attach some decent people to it, and maybe it's popular like this is because it had a decent animator attached, a decent character designer attached, But like that's the full extent of the artistic merit of this project is those people's involvement.
Right.
And the original light novel I assume is bad.
I don't know.
The manga seems to be better than the anime.
In our analysis, it seemed at least somewhat better.
Yeah, we've looked at it, it just seemed more entertaining, more just better art, But the anime, Aniplex, I assume, looked at like the success of Ore-imo and went like, let's do it again. Let's take the next book. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Just adapt it.
People will buy it. People will watch it.
People will buy this. The character looks good. Adapt this. And do whatever you can to make it sell. And that's what they did. And, Aniplex happens to be owned by Sony. Who made Jack and Jill. It's just the MO of Sony. It's just the way that their production mindset is just maximum profit, minimum effort.
It makes sense, I understand all the motivations behind it, but just here we are, and someone should stand on the wall and just observe, that sucks, that sucks, that over there, that was great. Let's do more like that thing over there, less like those things over there. So I don't know if talking about this does any... But it doesn't matter if the show is
popular anyways.
No.
I mean, a lot of people...
Who are we educating? Who is learning anything from this exercise?
Nobody cares.
No one.
Like, it's not a matter of, like, they're not tricking you. People are just watching the show and liking it.
They're not thinking.
Just stupid.
They're just not... I don't blame people for, like, not sitting down and, like, hardcore being like, why am I watching this? Like, what am I getting? What is the point of all this? But I just am baffled that people don't do that to a degree where they can enjoy a show like this unironically. And I don't know. It felt like when we were talking about it before, a lot of people were at least semi-hate watching it. Wasn't this when Gigguk's anime is trash and so am I became a thing?
That was the whole point of it, was that he was saying that he liked the show. Like, he was saying, like...
I like some parts of it, kind of. Is that the point? That we should ignore the parts? I don't think so.
I think he just thought it was more, like, charming than we did. We just thought we really hated it. Like,
there's so much to hate. There's so much to inspire rage and derision.
I think there's a lot of people who, because the show just, like, looks fairly nice, they just, like, I don't know, it's a placid... Look, okay, I've watched anime in scenarios where I was, let's say, at, like, an anime convention, and they're playing, like, a comedic show, and people are laughing at everything. Like, every little thing that could be considered humorous, somebody's laughing at. And I'm always baffled, because I'm just like, I didn't think those were meant to be, like, ha-ha funny jokes. Like, a story can be told in a funny, kind of entertaining way, but, like, to laugh at every line that the characters say, or every little, movement. Like, if you are somebody who, when Sagiri just makes, like, a face or something, you immediately burst out laughing, like, this show's probably fucking hilarious. You know? Like, there's tons of little things happening, little facial expression changes, I guess, or characters saying a phrase. I don't know. None of it even registers to me. Like, the dialogue is so vapid, I literally start tuning it out. I don't fucking find it funny at all. So, like, the fact that like the idea of somebody watching this and deriving any entertainment value out of it is like shocking to me, beyond the quality of the animation and art design, which gets old quick because you just look at the same shit every fucking episode.
That's true. The more I observe of people's consumption of media and people's opinions on media, the more I am convinced, and the more I look at human interaction in general, the more I am convinced that a lot of it simply boils down to we're just not understanding each other. Like, I bet so many of the people who passively enjoy the show would fall on some side of like to some degree of the just turn off your brain, bro. Yeah. That would be, and they're not wrong to do that. It's not wrong to view a show that way, but just by like, I feel like our default switches are not in that position. It would take like a shift of us to view it in that lens, and for lots of people who maybe just don't give a fuck, their default is that position unless they were to put in effort and shift to a different way.
I think it also
has and inevitably will disagree as a result of that.
I think it also has to do with the fact that the show just had great marketing, and marketing matters more than anything else in the end, because
the marketing can flip that switch in of itself to gauge how you will consume the product.
I think that the way that something like Eromanga-sensei like hits the scene is that like you already know before the show comes out that it's from the same creator as Orihime. It's probably the light novel or manga have probably been translated and are successful to some degree already. People know about these things, especially people on shit like that. Mm-hmm. People are anticipating the show is coming. It was already towards the top of like the most members on Mal before the season started.
Right.
People were excited about it. And, they laced it with memes. They put good GIFs in there. They put, like, just girls saying naughty words and stuff that they knew would track on Twitter. And, like, that stuff immediately permeated, which has worked for tons of shows that A1 and Kyoto Animation have done over the years. And, like, it becomes this hit because it's in front of you. And, like, most anime fans don't go seeking out stuff. Like, they're not like us who might go and, like, for me personally, I mean, I will go watch every single thing on the Mal chart. But, like, even if I wasn't doing that deliberately for my job, like, the way I tend to find anime is, like, I look into a show I like, I find out who directed it, I go find other stuff that director has made.
That is the vast minority of people, the way most people consume,
Like, when I was getting into, like, watching stuff online, it's like I figured out who Gainax was, then watched all the Gainax shows, So, like, that's, like, my way of finding anime. The average person is, like, they see this cute girl keeps popping up on Twitter. What is this show? Go check it out. You're completely in a void because you haven't even watched anything else from that season. You probably aren't even really cognizant of the idea that a new season of anime has begun.
Yeah, most people aren't.
It's just, like, this is a show that has come on, and I'm going to watch it each week until it stops coming on, And then you just do, and, like, it's fine. There's nothing that's offensive to your eyeballs. It's just a bunch of pastel, cute girls. You lapse in and out of attention, and sometimes you catch a boob or something funny happens. And, like, I have talked before about how, like, I do think that those of us who watch, like, anime subbed and especially do it for a career, it's a lot harder for us to watch, like, just late night anime that is meant to just linger in the background, like anime that comes on at midnight, and you're like a college student who's just like doing your exams, and Eromanga-sensei's on or something like that, not exams, but doing your homework. Eromanga-sensei, because if you are hearing it in Japanese and processing it, you don't need to look at the screen. You can understand what's happening in the background. I think that our need to actually watch Eromanga-sensei makes it a lot harder to watch.
That's probably true.
It would be way easier to have it passively on while you're jacking off or something.
Yeah, I could see doing that. One last point.
If the girls were hotter, I could see doing that with this show, but they're not hot
Could do it to some of them. Muramasa in the swimsuit episode. Could get down to that. I could see myself doing that. But let's look at this. This is just my last point to the vapidity
Make it quick,
of
the
show.
Camera is dying.
Okay, it's episode 2 is called Sagiri Izumi's First Kiss. That's the name of the episode. By the way, the first episode's Elf Yamada's love song. So the song was actually like baked in to be like the central point. So like it was diegetic. It happened. Doesn't make any sense. But beyond that, this thing about Sagiri Izumi's First Kiss, That's the name of the episode. Like, if you read that, you're looking forward to this OVA. It's called Sagiri Izumi's First Kiss. You're thinking, oh my god, this is the fucking, it's good. Like, they're doing the thing. This is a romantic show. The big kiss is coming. But the kiss never came in the episode. What we got was, while Masamune is sitting there sick, she gave him like a little forehead kiss. That seems to be what the kiss was.
They didn't even make a big deal out of it.
No.
So.
What a letdown for something. At least you expect like the story to progress in like a meaningful way, but it's a misdirect. It's a deviation from like what is promised to us. And I don't know. I just think that's indicative of much of what the show does from the start to the finish here.
All right, well, hopefully we're free from Eromanga-sensei forever, but
probably
maybe if they ever make a season 2, we'll have to bring back Eromanga-sensei every week.
I'll check it out. I'm down.
Until we die.
I'm the best guy ever.
KHANTEHNT! Have you been spending your days waiting around for more KHANTEHNT to watch? Well, good news. Me and Best Guy Ever have a new channel called KHANTEHNT. We're going to provide lots and lots of KHANTEHNT 2 days a week, every single week. Every Tuesday and Friday, there's going to be a brand new piece of KHANTEHNT, either about anime or something else. Anime, at least, every Tuesday. So, come listen to us talk about anime and other stuff, and make lots of KHANTEHNT on the KHANTEHNT channel. You could have seen this video yesterday if you'd been there. Whoa!